Look at the back of your hand right now. That color, that specific shade, you were born with it, you did not choose it, you did not earn it. And for most of human history, people believed it was a message from God, a mark of fate, a proof of something. They built entire civilizations on top of that idea. They fought wars, they wrote laws, they drew maps of who belongs where, based entirely on what they saw when they looked at skin. And all of it, every single bit of it, was a response to sunlight. That is the whole story. But the way we got here is stranger than you think. Go back, way back, before history, before language, before fire, was anything more than a terrifying accident. Picture the first anatomically modern humans. They are standing on the eastern edge of Africa, in a corridor of land that will one day be called Ethiopia. The sun is not like the sun you know. There is no SPF 50, no shade from a building, no car to climb into. There's just skin and sky, and the sky is trying to kill you. Ultraviolet radiation is relentless at the equator. It does not just burn, it destroys folate, a B vitamin so essential to human reproduction that without it, DNA replication breaks down. Fetuses miscarry, spines fail to close. The species cannot continue. So the body did what bodies do when a threat is consistent enough and ancient enough. It adapted. Melanin, a pigment, dark, dense, absorptive, a biological shield built into the skin itself. The more melanin, the more UV blocked. The more UV blocked, the more folate preserved. The more folate preserved, the more babies born healthy. And slowly, over thousands of generations, dark skin became the default for humans living close to the equator. Not because of identity, not because of culture, because of physics. Here is where it gets complicated. Around 70,000 years ago, something pushed a small group of humans out of Africa. Maybe a drought, maybe a population pressure, maybe pure restless curiosity. We do not know, but they left and they walked north. And as they walked, something changed. The sun changed. At higher latitudes, the angle of the Earth means UV radiation weakens. You're not getting the same punishing beam of light you get at the equator. You're getting something thinner, more oblique. And suddenly the problem is not too much UV, it is too little, because UV radiation does something else too. Something you need when UV hits the skin. It triggers the synthesis of vitamin D, and vitamin D is not optional. It regulates calcium, it builds bone, it supports immune function. Without it, children develop rickets, their legs bowing under their own weight. Adults become prone to infection, to fracture, to failure. So in the north, the equation flipped. Too much melanin now blocks the UV you desperately need. The skin that protected your ancestors at the equator becomes a liability in Scandinavia. And so generation by generation, in populations that stayed far enough north long enough, melanin concentrations dropped. Skin grew lighter. Not because of anything divine, because the sun was weaker and the body was trying to catch every photon it could. This is the entire architecture of human skin color. A latitude dial, a biological thermostat calibrated to UV exposure over tens of thousands of years. The darkest human populations in the world live closest to the equator. The lightest live closest to the poles. And as you move between those two extremes, every variation you see is a population's answer to a single question. How much sun do you actually get? But here is where the nightmare begins. Somewhere along the line. Humans forgot this, or maybe they never understood it in the first place. What they saw was difference. And difference, to a tribal primate wired to detect in-group and out-group, is never neutral. It is always loaded. It always means something, so they made it mean something. They told stories. They built hierarchies. They said the difference in skin was not about UV radiation and folate and latitude. They said it was about worth, about intelligence, about who deserved to be free. And those stories lasted centuries. Think about that for a moment. The entire biological reality of human skin color is a response to geography. A body saying this much sun, this much shield, nothing more. And yet that single variation in pigment became the scaffolding for some of the most catastrophic systems of oppression in recorded history. The Atlantic slave trade, apartheid, Jim Crow, caste systems on every continent. Entire legal frameworks built to protect a hierarchy invented from something that was never a hierarchy at all. There is a brutal irony buried in all of this. The populations who were enslaved and exploited for their darker skin were genetically the direct descendants of the people who built the earliest civilizations. The populations whose lighter skin was weaponized as a symbol of superiority were, in purely evolutionary terms, the ones whose ancestors lost melanin. not gained sophistication, lost a pigment, because they moved somewhere colder. The advantage, if you can even call it that, was just survival in a cloudier place. And here's the part that sits in your chest if you let it. Every physical feature associated with race is a surface-level adaptation: skin color, eye shape, hair texture. These are the body's answers to environmental questions: temperature, humidity, UV exposure. They are the clothing the genome wears for a particular climate. Underneath them, the variation between any two humans anywhere on Earth is almost cosmically small. Two people from the same village are often more genetically distinct from each other than a person from Norway and a person from Nigeria. We are one species. We always were. We diverged for maybe 70,000 years, scattered across a planet, collecting local adaptations the way travelers collect different coats for different weather. And then we called those coats identity. We called them destiny. We built the modern world on top of that mistake, and we are still living inside it. So the next time you look at your hand, the next time you look at a stranger across a room or a border or a history book, remember what you're actually seeing. You're seeing a family that got separated and adapted to different weather. You're seeing the evidence of migration, of survival, of tens of thousands of years of a body doing its best in whatever light it was given. The colors were never about us. They were always about the sun.